And I wanted to share with you briefly my discovery on the basis of Ephesians 4. The first verse in Ephesians 4 talks about calling, about us being called to something. It says, walk in the manner worthy of the calling with which you were called. So each one of us has a task of certain lifestyle, living in life that is true to what God called us to do. Holy living, being in fellowship with Jesus, and so on. And then Paul continues to talk about the details of this calling. First thing that he says, just after, in verse 2, he talks about godly character. He talks about things like being humble, being gentle, being patient, being loving. So the foundation of everything in our Christian life is this character, Christian, godly character, living a life of this nature, this kind. And then he moves and talks about unity with other members of the body, and he talks about a lot of things that are bringing union. He said that we should be keeping unity of the Spirit with the bond of peace. And then goes on to say that there is one body, one Spirit, one hope, one God, and there are several more things. So Christian character and unity as the foundation of the living out the Christian calling that we have received. But then, after presenting so much emphasis on unity, he moves on to diversity. And he talks about Christ calling people to different roles in his body. And there is a very interesting statement, as Christ apportioned it. The statement is, to each one of us, grace has been given as Christ apportioned it. And this is important because my role, my gifting in the body of Christ doesn't come from me. I don't decide who I am, what I do. It is actually apportioned, given, decided by Christ himself. And so he gives different roles in the church. We see here apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, teachers, and we are, I believe, in this category as well. We are not only members of the body of Christ, but we as staff of a Christian organization, we are called, some of us more as evangelists, some of us as teachers, different things connected with helping the body of Christ function. And the key statement for me that was a big aha moment was, what is the reason for those different roles? To equip his people for works of service. So the reason Christ gave those roles is not because he loves the body and he wants them to be well taken care of, but he wants the body to do the works of ministry, and he gave different roles so the body is prepared for those works of ministry. So the primary role of ministers in the body of Christ is not serving the members of the body, but equipping them for the ministry that the members are called by God to accomplish. And this is a subtle, small maybe difference for some of you, maybe already function like this, but it is a very profound statement that talks about mentality that we should have when we do our calling. That we are called to help others do the things that God called them to accomplish through their lives. And then the end result is that the whole body, the church, whole body of Christ, is functioning in a healthy way. And there are statements like that, body of Christ is built up, body becomes mature, we are no longer infants, and we are growing towards maturity. So that's what the phrases that Paul is using, describing this mature functioning of the body. And another key statement, closing this chapter 1 to 16, that the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. So what's the job of the members of the body. All of us are to live the life worthy of the calling we have received, both in character, in unity, and in fulfilling the role that Christ called us to do. And the members of the body are those who do works of service. The officers of the body equip others for the work of this service. So the staff can think in two potential ways. And I remember myself, at the beginning of my role as a missionary in Poland, I was happy to serve those students. There were some thoughts about, of course, multiplying, about helping them do the ministry, but I was just trying to focus on evangelism, discipleship, and not so much on sending in my own head. So one can think that my main job is to minister to people that God entrusted to me so they grow. Another potential way of thinking is that my role is to equip the people entrusted to me for the sake of the ministry. So the key is mentality. We might do exactly the same thing, but if we end our thinking only helping people to grow and don't think how God called them, what God called them to, then we are not doing our part. So in the statement 4:16, as each part does its work, if we are not equipping others as ministers of the body, we are not doing our part, and the whole body is suffering, not accomplishing the goals that Christ called us to accomplish. So as you think about this, think about your own thinking, your situation in your teams, and how can you help build the mentality of equipping others for the works of ministry that Christ prepared them to do. It's not about what we do entirely, it is why we do it. What's the motivation behind it?